Dr. Jill forced to do a house call after a hubby caught a bad case of polonitis. Donald Trump blowing up Biden's blue wall, steamrolling the president in 6 of the 7 critical battleground states he needs to reclaim the White House. Trump also obliterating Biden on who has the mental and physical fitness needed to be president. 48% think Trump is stellar on both. Only 28% say the same about Biden. But Joe's full-time caretaker seems to be in denial on the polling prognosis.
But when these polls, like the Wall Street Journal one, land in the White House and he's losing in all the battleground states.
No, he's not losing in all the battleground
one.
states. He's coming up, and he's even or doing better. So you know what? Once people start to focus in and they see their two choices, it's obvious that Joe will win this election.
It's like the -5. Morning Joe was on life support while trying to cope with Biden's polling dumpster fire. But instead of Dr. Jill, the poor souls had to settle for this dude instead.
In the end, voters are going to vote in their own best interest. They always do. And it's why I've always been more optimistic than the polls, because voters think their own lives, their own economy, their own state economies are better than they were 4 years ago. And they're getting better every single day. And that's why I agree with you. In 12 polls out in the last 2 weeks, Joe Biden continues to have momentum since the State of the Union.
All right, Dana, so there's some good news, encouraging news there for the Republicans, but never underestimate their ability to screw everything up. I go back to the red wave, and I want to talk to you about this because I think this is the biggest thing, and it's abortion. So putting morality aside, the reason for the red wave was abortion, and you could argue that the border crisis, the crime crisis, our educational system crisis, all came about because of abortion. It galvanizes single female liberals to get out and vote. And what you end up is with a party that is almost singularly about abortion and almost nothing else. So everything else goes to hell. So my question is it time for the Republicans just to let it go, let them have their abortion? They can abort all they want, but just let them have that issue, because in the long term, engaging ends up destroying all of these other issues and bringing this country to the precipice because they can't govern anything else.
So I'll try to do this quickly. I think.
No, take your time.
It is hard to set aside the morality of this issue.
Yeah.
Because this past Roe v. Wade was 1972, right? So for 50 years, everyone talked about life beginning at conception, if you're a pro-life, the March for Life, and it galvanizes an entire political movement for a long time, leading to the push for conservative judges on the Supreme Court. Not the only issue, but certainly one of the biggest. And the Democrats, what I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to say it again. When Biden tried to go after Trump yesterday in Michigan, they had billboards and ads. What did they say? If Trump wins again, Michigan families will face 3 issues. The #1 issue they wrote, an abortion ban, a national abortion ban. Second issue on the economy, third issue immigration. So why would they do that? It's because they know that is the Republicans' Achilles heel, and it's a big one. It's about to snap, right? They've won a lot of special elections, and you can look at the Gallup poll from yesterday where it says nationally people think that the most important issue on the ballot is certainly not abortion. It was down at like 2%. But when you start to look at really close margins, like in many of these states where it's close, you look at Pennsylvania, for example. In Wisconsin, when there was a special election on this, the turnout in Madison, Wisconsin, where you have the university there, it was off the charts. You've never seen anything like it. Messina, the soundbite you just played, when I interviewed him right after the red wave failed to materialize, I said, do you think abortion will be an issue in 2024 on the state ballots? And he said, if I have anything to say about it, it will. This weekend, what do we find out? More and more states are trying to figure out a way to get abortion on the ballot in certain places, including Florida. So I could go on and on. I would just think that the Republicans have to realize this is an issue, that no matter what President Trump says, if he comes out and gives a statement next week, as apparently he's going to, whatever he's going to say about it, whatever he says, the Democrats are going to say, he's lying to you, and he's going to push for a national abortion ban, and they will have plenty of tape to run from the previous administration when the president was in office to try to back that up.
What do you think, Judge?
I think it's a tough issue, but I think it is a defining issue. I think one of the dumbest things that happened was after the Dobbs case, a senator came out and wanted to pass a bill to ban abortion, a federal bill, which was absurd because he didn't have the numbers, number one. And number two, we're just coming off of the Dobbs decision. I think that the idea that the Democrats, who are going to dig in on this issue in any which way they can by making sure it is on every ballot. And you know what, Greg, even if it's not on the ballot, they're going to make it a part of their campaign. Yep. The fact that Americans are worried about the economy and immigration doesn't matter. They're going to speak to abortion, and that is an emotional issue. I think that one of the reasons that Nikki Haley, hit a chord in this country was because she talked about it in a way that it touched Americans. She talked about it in a way where she said, I'm personally against it, but X, Y, Z. There's nothing that the Republicans can do, given the Dobbs decision, given the movement towards the decision, that will convince anyone of anything otherwise. Now, the fact is that it's not a constitutional right, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg agreed it was not a constitutional right, that it's left to the states. What is your problem? This is a democracy. Get going in your state. Get it on the ballot in your state. It is not a federal issue, thank God. But in the end, I think that it is going to be a problem for Republicans, and they have to address it in a way where they sound reasonable and not crazy.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of reasonable and not crazy.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, I was kidding.
I was going to go to you, but...
No, I'll go last.
Jesse, I would love to hear a long monologue in which you incorporate the same themes you had in the A Block.
My father sent me this funny video for old people about abortion.
Yes.
A lot of men and a lot of women in the media and in the elite circles don't talk to young single women that much in their 20s. And when we do talk to young single women, we're definitely not asking them about their feelings about abortion. So I have no idea what the electorate is going to do about abortion. Mm-hmm. It's so impenetrable to me. It's not something that comes up in conversation. So we could just be completely blindsided by this issue because it's very thorny to talk about. And there may be, and even married women in their 30s that it's still an option on the table for them, and they don't talk about it to anybody, but when they go vote, they might vote just on that single issue. So my answer is, I have no idea.
It's a good answer. Jesse, that's probably the best
honest.
answer
You should lead with that more often.
That's the best answer.
And that was honest.
Last word, Jessica. And that's good.
Fully agree with Jesse on the he has no idea, and also what Dana and the judge were saying about this. I would say, though, that it's not as if Democrats need to make up the evidence for this one. Donald Trump said, I killed Roe v. Wade. That is his legacy. And for the religious right, for instance, who it is a pure and simple morality issue, that makes him a hero. Mm-hmm. For Nikki Haley's supporters, that makes him difficult to stomach in a lot of ways, because we are seeing these 6-week abortion bans, like what's going to show up in Florida. And most people who have spoken to a woman know that you don't even get a heartbeat scan before 6 weeks. There's also a tremendous misconception about who is getting abortions. And Jesse demonstrates that quite beautifully, the misconception, because he said we're not talking to young single women. But that's not who's getting the majority of abortions. Over 60% of women in America who are seeking one have already given birth to a child before. That's part of family planning.
I said married in their 30s, Jessica.
No, you didn't. You said young.
Yeah, he said
in the 20s.
I added
Oh,
that.
added. Sorry. Oh, okay.
You lost track when I started telling the truth.
So it is going to show up everywhere, but not just because we have a thirst to win or that we don't care about life, but because the American public is telling us that they care about this issue. And for them, it opens up a whole kettle of fish with reproductive rights, having control over your body. And yes, Ruth Bader Ginsburg did say that it was a privacy decision, and that's why it was 7-2 with conservatives voting for this. But that's how it's appearing also on a lot of these ballot measures, and that's how it should be. It's between you and your doctor to make a smart decision for you and what's also medically best for you. There are women who are suffering in conservative states, being forced to give birth to children that have no chance at a life.
All righty then, straight ahead. Oregon is just saying no to drugs after going all in on decriminalization.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.